You don't have to live with endometriosis. You don't need to get repeat surgeries, and you don't need to be on drugs, uh, an IUD, hormonal birth control, or anything like that in order to avoid it from coming back. In this video, I'm going to give you the no nonsense reason why you don't need to do that and how I fix my endometriosis. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Emanuela Urbani. I'm a health and nutrition practitioner, and I've helped over 100 clients discover what optimal health really means for them through a nature first and biophysics based strategy. So, endometriosis, whether you suspect you have it or you have been officially diagnosed or you've had one or more surgeries, excision, burning it off, whatever it is that they did for endometriosis, and you are still suffering with symptoms, it doesn't have to be that way. Every good endometriosis excision surgeon will tell you that you need to go on some kind of drug, ideally, as in, hormonal birth control of some kind, in order to avoid a reoccurrence of endometriosis. Almost all of them. Many of them actually say that you have to do it, and they almost require you to, so to speak, after your surgery. And many will install an IUD immediately after your surgery. Why do they do this? Because, maybe when you take it all out, shouldn't it not grow back? Well, no. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why you have endometriosis in the first place is because you have poor signaling and poor function of your mitochondria in that area of your body. Your mitochondria control whether a cell lives or dies. So if you have an endometriosis cell that leaves its proper home place, let's say we don't even actually understand how this develops, but let's just say the theory of migrating endometrium cells is accurate, and the endometrium cells basically act like cancer and they move locations. If that is the case, which again, we don't know, but if there's a budding endometriosis cell that begins to take host in your pelvic area or wherever, because some people have endometriosis on their heart, their lungs, is much more rare, but it is possible. Your mitochondria are the ones that say, who is this naughty little bugger and what the heck is he doing there? Oh my God, he or she does not belong. Let's kill him. Pew pew. And they're dead. Okay? That's actually what happens. And of course, a much more complex and elegant manner. But the point is, that's what's happening. And you have endometriosis, and I had endometriosis because my body couldn't do that, because my body couldn't detect the troublemaker and kill it in time. And because once it was there, it didn't have the tools necessary to make the corrections, to then destroy those cells, to then repair those areas. It didn't have any of those. But it's not impossible to give your body what it needs, so that way you don't end up being stuck with endometriosis. Now, the $1,000,000 question is, do I still need to have surgery? And the answer is, it depends. It depends on where you live, how bad your symptoms are, how fast you need relief. It depends on a lot of variables. You might, depending on what your end goal is and depending on how much time you have. But whether you do or don't, it doesn't change the fact that you must now correct your body's circadian signaling molecules, your body's feedback loops, your body's hormone and light loops. You must correct all of those, and you must improve your mitochondrial function to the point where those little police guys can make sure that the naughty endometriosis cells don't start multiplying again. So what happened to me? I had endometriosis. I had terrible symptoms, self-diagnosed myself in my, I think, teens, totally forgot about that I had self-diagnosed myself. I then tried to get an official diagnosis. And when somebody mentioned the word endometriosis again, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I thought I had. all those years ago. I tried so many different things. I tried diet, I went vegan, I was actually raised strict vegetarian, so I had no eggs, no meat, no fish, nothing at all until I was 26. And I tried taking herbs. Now, some of that helped a little bit. I tried homeopathy. I did achieve some relief, but it wasn't enough. And I saw naturopaths as well to try to fix the issue. And eventually I got overly frustrated because I had my first kid and it became even more difficult to function when in pain. And after I had my first kid, my symptoms decided to end up on steroids. So I remortgaged my house and I went to the US to one of the top surgeons that was also very open to alternative therapies and did not require that I be on an IUD or hormonal contraceptive of any kind, because after what happened to me, like my symptoms had improved enough, probably 50% or so, that although I was dependent on herbs and homeopathy regularly being used continually throughout my cycle in order to maintain those results, everything was manageable until I went on birth control, and then everything just spiraled out of control. So I was like, I'm never ever doing that again, never mind all the other effects that I suffered from birth control. So I was like, okay, great, I found this guy. He's, one of the best in the US, and this is great. So I have the surgery and I experienced an improvement for sure. He did a good job. He took, most of it out. But my results lasted for about a year and a half until I had my second daughter and my period came back after my second daughter. I was exclusively nursing, so I think it came back around 10 months or so. I can't remember exactly, but it did take a while to come back, which is normal when you exclusively breastfeed for a long time. When my symptoms started coming back, I started freaking out. Obviously, naturally, I'm like, I'm not doing this again. What is going on? Why is this happening? I ended up going back to herbs, needed to use different kinds of herbs because I was breastfeeding, a homeopathy, like all of these things to try to manage it. Did I get some relief? Yeah, I did. Was it really that great? No, not at all. Until I discovered everything about circadian biology and light and how light affects your hormones. And the funny thing is, I actually wasn't doing it to fix myself. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, you'll know that I ran into all this research because I desperately wanted my daughter to sleep, and I desperately wanted to sleep myself. But what happened was that very quickly, within the first, couple months, my periods got better than they had been since right after the surgery. And even better than that, honestly. And I experimented with certain things. I experimented with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I experimented with taking progesterone cream, taking progesterone, taking DHEA, pregnenolone, all these things. And that helped as well. But when I actually understood how to dial down my light environment and my EMF exposure, my diet to be in tune to where I was living, so make sure I was giving my body the right signals and my timing in my cells was working properly. And I became leptin sensitive again in my gonads, right? In my sex organs, my boobs, my ovaries, whatever. You know what I mean? Then I experienced this intense and wonderful alleviation of my symptoms. The best part of it is that I never had to buy those herbs again. I never had to drink gross tea or stuff like that again. I didn't need to take homeopathy for any reason, for any kind of pain. I just lived pain-free and excessive bleeding free. Does this last forever? Depends. When I went through extremely stressful situations and an abandonment of all my good habits, which happened for a short period of time when I was grieving last year, I stopped watching the sunrise. I stopped doing most of my habits other than my house mitigation that was done. I wasn't going outside. I wasn't doing cold. It was winter. Things got worse. And I was thinking to myself, and it was like a 30 days. So I had one bad period and one pain and ovulation. It was nothing like what it was before, but it was still there enough to me to start obviously panicking and be like, oh my God, no, what am I going to do? Why is this happening? Then I sat down and thought and realized, oh shit, I'm not doing anything that I'm supposed to do. So I went back to all my habits. I was like, you know what? I can grieve and watch a sunrise at the same time. I can grieve and go in the cold plunge at the same time. I can grieve and get outside at the same time. And I did. And within the month, I had my relief back. So if you fall off the bandwagon or say move to a place where you're immediately adjacent to a massive hydro corridor, to 5G towers or monolithic cell towers, whatever, yeah, things are gonna get worse for you. And there's a few ways to manage that. You can try to go harder on your protocols. You can include things like term depleted water. You can incorporate more vacations, or you could just get out of the environment depending on what you can and cannot do. The point that I want to bring to you in this video is don't believe all of this wallowing in your own crapulence stuff that's on social media. Poor me. I have a disease and it's a chronic disease and there's nothing I could do about it. I'm sorry, ladies. That is a pity party for no reason. You can do something about it. You don't need to feel that way. It's unnecessary. And I'm sorry if you haven't discovered how to get rid of it yet, but you can do it. I walk my client, I have a step-by-step. How I did it was extremely messy, but I've refined it down with clients who struggle with endometriosis or just really bad periods to a point where we start with symptom relief and then we reset everything. And by the end of the 3 months, you feel like a whole new person. Are you going to be done healing? Not necessarily, depending on your situation, depending on how bad or trashed you were at the beginning, right? Health-wise. But are you going to experience a massive improvement? Absolutely. And the thing is, you're not going to be dependent on a bunch of things, natural or not, to maintain your results. You will, however, be dependent on following nature's rules, because when you break those, your body doesn't work properly. And like I said, those little naughty cells, well, they'll just go to town, and we don't want that. Don't despair. If you don't know what to do, please reach out. I have a free resource on how to use effective herbs on your period. I'll link it below. You can do it. You can change. You don't have to be a victim to your endometriosis. You can put your endometriosis to rest, dispose of it, and leave it behind in your past. I hope this video was useful to you, and please hit the like, comment, tell me what you think, subscribe to my channel so you can catch the next one.